Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP, in association with thelibertybeacon.com. And I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Lenard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. I really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I have with me Dominique, Dom, I'm putting in air quotes because that's what he's got in his email, Dom in quotes, Brightmon. And yes, it just so happens in Michigan, a bright Monday we're recording on.
There we go.
As opposed to a dismal Tuesday. My audience knows I can never pass, no matter how lame and stupid the pun is. but in all seriousness, having that joke is a good lead-in to welcome you to the show, because indeed, with all the depressing things going on, you're here today to talk about positive thought catalyst. But first, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joseph, thanks so much for having me on. I'm glad you told a pun. That means I'm in the right place.
Yeah, certainly can't deal in serious stuff 100% of the time. We'll go out of our minds, right? And again, indeed, before we get to the positive thought catalyst that we so desperately need in these depressing days, let's start, of course, with, let's not put the cart before the horse. Start with the usual opening. Who is Dominique Brightmon question? Cue the Who song. Who are you? Who?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm glad I said yes to this show. This is freaking great. Thanks a bunch, Joe, for having me on your show, my man. This is definitely an honor. That means something's working. And for those who don't know me yet, name's Dominic Dom Brightmon. You can call me Dom for short, if that makes life a lot easier, especially if you're a Fast and Furious fan. And I'm all about books and people. Some would say people. Books and people, because people are responsible for writing books, and books can help folks to grow, be inspired, and be entertained. So that's really the name of the game, is just helping folks to join that metaphorical business of immortality by writing and publishing their book, or starting and growing a successful podcast of their own, because the name of the game is, in this land of imitation, especially some of it imitation vanilla, metaphorically, folks are going to want the real deal. And it's all about helping folks do things that I've actually done in my life, and not just the veneers that you may see on the internet.
Yeah. Well, it also says on here, for those who are looking at the behind the scenes video, using those quotes again, air quotes, certified leadership trainer. I had heard you were certifiable, as in, woohoo, he's crazy. What is this certified leadership trainer?
Yes. Got certified with the legendary John C. Maxwell, the world's #1 leadership authority. He actually was a pastor for, I'd say, probably a good 30 years, if I'm not mistaken, 20 to 30 years. Yeah, he actually was responsible for one of the top 10 fastest growing churches back in the early 2000s. And his books were actually well received in the business community, because even though he was a pastor talking about leadership, folks still need help of leadership. And they were like, oh, well, he decided to jump out the church, jump for pastorship, and go out into the world, expand his influence. And he decided to have a certification program some years later, back in 2014, to be called basically his legacy legs, as we jokingly call ourselves, as part of his legacy, just spreading the good word of, hey, we're people of value, adding value to other people and helping folks unlock and unleash their own inner value. Because the thing is, everyone living and breathing, the person right now listening especially, has value. Sometimes just folks need a little reminder to unleash it.
Amen. In my Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You book, which I say, yes, it's about terrorism, but it's not about death. It's about life, right? All life has value and meaning. Whether you see it right now or not doesn't mean it isn't true, right? You don't know what tomorrow will bring until you carpe diem the day. And also, I see on my cheat sheet I'm waving in front of the camera here that you're a podcast host. So give us the lowdown on your podcast. Let's plug that at the beginning, which we'll do at the end again too. Normally we wait till the end, but hey, no time like the present. Let's go ahead and plug it up front.
I mean, that's what gifts are for, right? No time like the present.
Yep.
Yeah, the podcast, Going North podcast, that podcast is a podcast geared towards aspiring authors and current authors looking to promote their work and inspire others to also write books of their own. And the show originally started as a way to market my own books, since I also wrote a couple books. And the thing was, I was like, oh, wait a second. I originally wanted to start a podcast, but sadly, my father passed away a few months after my first ever book, Going North, was written and published. And I slacked up on the marketing because going through some grieving. And I realized, wait a second, my dad was a man of action. He loved to work hard. And it was only fitting that I pick up the mantle of something that I started and make sure I keep it going. So the podcast started September 2017, and we're now 836 episodes deep officially. So yeah,
Whoa. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a lot more than me, that's for sure. I'm also part of Savaged Unfiltered, which is topping 600 episodes now over 4 years. So yeah, that's a lot. And I'm glad to hear you're encouraging others to write, because indeed one of my other internationally available books is How to Write a Book and Get It Published, Hints, Tips, and Techniques. Yeah, unusual. You and I as an author, though, begging for more competition. That's really kind of stupid on our part, but it's giving back to the community, right?
Funny enough, we're in a good industry because the thing is, if someone loves books, they're not gonna buy just one. They're gonna buy multiple books. So in a way, there can be metaphorical competition, but not really, especially since we're both faith-based writers and podcast hosts. Like, if they go to a faith-based section, find both of our books, they like them both, they're going to pick them both up.
One would hope. One would hope. So now you had a book called Going North that then the podcast is based on. But again, the main thing that drew me to you, again, in these often depressing times, was positive thought catalyst. Let's get into that.
Sure thing. One of the best things about today is that there are so many distractions out there. It's a good and a bad thing. The good thing is there's distractions to distract you from the bad things. Bad thing is there's so many bad distractions to distract you from the good thing. A positive thought catalyst is really the title that I picked up as a way to really put everything what I do into this one centerpiece, because I'm all about motivating, inspiring other people. And sometimes the best message someone hears is the one that they see. Someone who's always encouraging other people, even if they're having a bad day, is always inspiring. Someone who's in their early 20s writing and publishing a book and actually putting themselves out there, inspiring someone decades older than them, like, that's just really inspiring. And the growth of being able to connect with so many people, getting on TV, radio, podcasts, interviews, it's like just being that example and putting myself out there as a way for other folks to be inspired by, and then them too creating their own version of their own success that they truly desire. So it's really all about creating that positive thought for other people to where it can eventually grow into a whole garden of positive thoughts. And it really starts with ourselves and what we read, especially what we hear and what we watch. It's all about our brain care. What we put in is what we're going to get out. And the classic proverb, as a man thinketh, so is he, like it, that's one of the major things that is a part of my first book, and even talk about it in a method called the rave method, where the thing is, it's in four different categories. It's reading great material, immersing yourself in great audio material, visual stimulation, where you're making sure that you're watching things that are going to be good for you. Education and entertainment are good, but making sure your education time is more than your entertainment time. And of course, the E, which is encouraging yourself and other people, because if you're living and breathing, you need encouragement. And sometimes one positive word will help you even run for a lifetime. So that's really what a positive thought catalyst is, what it's all about. Just someone who's putting inspirational goodness out there for folks to see and be inspired by, to want to do more good things with their lives too.
Right. And the old saying, you will get what you give, right? I had Bullseye the Clown on a while back, and that same thing you mentioned, even if you're having a bad day, well, you can help yourself by helping somebody else. We talked about the study that even a forced smile, the benefit it brings, because it will often generate a real smile back, and that genuine smile back coming your way can lift your spirits if you're having a bad day. So yes, it's in a sense karma on a small micro scale.
Definitely, you're so right. Because the thing is, that another thing too, folks need to always remember is that everyone's human. Like even if you have faith, you're still gonna have trials and tribulations. You're gonna have a day where you feel like, oh man, this feels like a really bad day, like the world's against me. It's guaranteed to happen. Nothing's perfect. It's just being okay knowing that it's going to happen, and knowing that this isn't a place where I have to stay here all the time. Because the most positive person you may know, they're gonna have a bad day. It's just the way they reframe their situation. It's all about how they think about it.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the beginning, because I didn't really drag out of you enough your background. Yeah, where were you born and raised, and all that stuff. You're clearly not a Generation Y, and like I like to joke, as in, why are they here? I mean, what purpose is it? Just a joke. It's just a joke, people. It's a joke. So, but please, yes, where were you born and raised, and all that kind of stuff. Give us the dirty details.
Don't worry, it won't be too dirty. We won't need to call in the janitor for it. I was actually raised in the good old wonderful land of charm and crab cakes known as Baltimore, Maryland, US of A, on the East Coast. And my parents, they my heroes, basically. Like without them I wouldn't be here. And my dad, he was a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division, fought in World War II, had two combat jumps, and also fought in the Korean War as well. My mother, she was highly into education. She always loved school, going to school, always in the books. My first ever public speaking coach, as I like to call it, because when it came time for her to be part of plays growing up in school and things like that, they would always have her go on last, because she would always steal the show. And part of that got instilled into me when it came time for me to do plays and speeches in church or in school. And my dad, he would always take me to church early on Sunday mornings, especially for Sunday school. My mom, she preferred to sleep in a bit on Sundays and then go to the actual service. So it'd be me and my dad from basically 8:30 to 3 p.m. And then mom would join us later afterwards. And he also was heavy into the church. He was a trustee was a part of different ministries and groups. Mom was too. And really, like the church, school, and the neighborhood, that's really what my life was all about. I was basically a church boy growing up who eventually found his confidence once he got to college going for his IT degree, and eventually coming across a wonderful little setback sandwich year of 2012 when I turned 21, got into a car accident, almost losing a part-time job at a local library that I held down for 5 years, and having to start the journey of my dad's degradation process thanks to the darn Alzheimer's disease, where myself, my brother, and my mother had to basically be his caregivers and basically keep watch over, make sure he was all right. And just all of that crashing down on me at once, realizing that something needed to change. It's like, hey, like my dad with having the Alzheimer's, it's like that's a hard thing to deal with, but everything else I can always adjust that. So I had a desire for change, picked up one of John C. Maxwell's books, and that one book led to me reading a whole bunch of other books again, and eventually going through that guinea pig phase of self-development when you read a bunch of self-development books and you put yourself through some of the activities from those books, and eventually it rubbed off on me where I eventually became the guy on the Zoom call with you today who's a published author giving talks and inspiring others to really join the business of immortality known as authorship and content creation.
Yeah. Well, sometimes a lot of people think of going into writing, being author is a way to hide, but your books are worthless if you're not capable of promoting them. So, being an author really isn't for shy people. And I was going to,
Oh, yeah.
before I joke with you, I know how I've been there, done that. Our mother went through Alzheimer's too. So my sympathies to you as a caregiver, and, condolences. That it's such a horrible thing. But yeah, I was going to joke with you. It's hard to believe you're a public speaker. You seem so shy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, people don't believe me when I tell them that. They're like, "Man, you shy, really?" And then even when I was doing Toastmasters, folks like, "Nah, you can't be shy. We seen you on stage, buddy." I'm like, nope, nope, nope. I tend to be full introvert sometimes, where it's like, nope, let me get into this turtle shell here.
Well, it's part of human nature. We all kind of multifaceted, if we have any depth to us at all. And indeed, we can have our shy moments and our extrovert moments. And I'm glad you're not being shy and climbing up on me today.
Can't afford to at this point. It's like, nope, shyness, shyness, that goes out the way. In a way, shyness can be selfishness in a way if you got a gift to share with other people.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Ed Bondarenka, and I host Your American Heritage on Saturdays at 2 in the afternoon on this station. Your American Heritage is a show about the struggle we find ourselves in and how to react to it in the light of our biblical and American heritage. Listen to it while you're working around the house, the garage, cleaning the guns, walking the dog, driving, or just lazing around. Join me at 2 o'clock Saturdays here on Wham Radio, 1600 AM, 92.7 FM.
God bless America.
No, that's true. If you've got stories to share or any sort of talent to help, indeed, bring positive thought catalyst, to bring the show title back into it, it would be selfish to kind of keep that to yourself and not try to make the world a better place through that. That's a very important point.
Oh, yeah, it's true, especially when it's pointing north.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure like you, or like you, I'm sure you, like me, at some point, not necessarily the sky opening up and the Lord yelling at you, but you realized I've been given this and it's now a calling. It's something I must do.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. And sometimes it may not be the sky opening up and then you're hearing an audible voice with a great baritone or bass. It's like, hey, go thee therefore and teach all nations. It's like, all right, cool. I read that in Matthew. It must be true. It is true. It's like, yeah, but sometimes they like that. Sometimes it's a whisper. Sometimes it's from hearing it from other people where it's like, hey, you're meant to be so and so. And sometimes it's okay to buy into that, and sometimes it's really not. And if it sounds good, it's best to follow that direction. So yeah, it's definitely definitely a calling, especially with the great name of your show, the ChristiTutionalist podcast. It's like, hey, well, those who are called by God to be saved and have their life changed for the better, it's a gift. It's a free gift. All the price. You've been redeemed. It's like, hey, well, folks want to redeem codes. It's well time to redeem your wonderful salvation gift and share with other people and help folks to find their redemption codes too.
Yeah, and I sure didn't start out this way. I was an IT guy for a long time, and
Nice.
anxiety, stress, ripped me apart through all those hours of being on call all the time, days and night, being wakened at the, you know, countless times during the night, but yet still having to get out of bed in the morning and go into the physical job. At some point, the body said, nope, you're not going to do that anymore. And then when you go on disability for years, it's like, what is my purpose? There needs to be something. This, I don't buy that negative didn't happen for a positive. And it took a while for me to discover it, and wrote books, and then led to, why not do the podcast? I write a article for the can't talk today, the libertybeacon.com every Saturday. Why don't I do a show that corresponds to the article? It's only going to take a little bit more of my time to do that. I'm already doing it. So it just then made sense, which then led to the ChristiTutionalist Politics book, which now in June, ChristiTutionalist Politics 2 will be dropping. This will probably air later after June, so the book will have already dropped by that. So yeah, you just need the one spark, then one thing leads to another. Again, back to the positive thought catalyst. You get that snowball rolling. You need to get that push to get it rolling downhill, then you're okay.
Oh, you're so right about that. Just that one spark we need. It's kind of like the whole wonderful saying about, hey, when you have that one candle and you light another, you don't lose your flame in the process. That's really just the power of an idea, just that catalyst of an idea, of a thought. Like that one major thought can be the one real, I guess, rocket ship to take you to the next level or to another planet.
Do you have any other, like, I've got a million ideas up here for books. I've started a half dozen of them. Yeah. What irons do you currently have in the fire? If you don't want you to give away an idea that somebody can steal, of course, but do you have some irons in the fire that you can loosely talk about without letting somebody steal it?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you almost with the books. It's like with this new, like this project been in the back of my brain for ever since probably 2020. A lot of starting and stopping because of podcasting being an ever growing field that exploded 4 years ago, and it's still growing to this day. And now we're in the phase where it's like the pretenders and the genuine folks. There's a huge difference between the two, and I got a project out, project or project I'm working on, I should say, that's going to help folks to start and grow a podcast of their own, and then eventually with the book writing and publishing process too. Those two books, along with an online course, and I actually released easy book for folks to pick up in the meantime called the Going North Advancement Compass, which is an interactive journal where it takes one of the chapters from the first book, Going North, where it talks about the PAR method, which is prepare, act, and reflect. And every 2 pages is a new day where it's helping you to prepare for the following day by asking yourself, what good will I do today? And then just taking action throughout the day of asking yourself, what must I do? Just writing down those things that you have been putting off for a while and taking action towards helping them get done, all the way to the end of the day where you're asking yourself, all right, so what are 3 wins that I had today? What did I learn today? And then closing the day out with, what good did I do today? So starting your day off with seeking for something good to happen and making it good and making sure it happens, and ending your day with answering that first question is like, all right, I set out to do this good thing. I shared a smile with somebody, held the door for somebody, talked to somebody I haven't talked to in a long time, and learned that they may have been going through a rough time, if they needed that one person to talk to. Like, just ending your day off with the good news, like, all right, I did something good today. It doesn't even have to be big. It could be that one small spark that we talked about earlier. So those are the irons in the fire, and that's what's currently out right now. So pick it up if you're interested, if you're into journaling, because journaling is huge, especially if you're looking to eventually write a book, because that's where my books come from. Past talks I've given and past journal entries that I've written down.
Mine, I like to think, come from above. They come to me in my dreams. So, and I'm thankful. I like to say my books are not of me or from me, they're through me. I'm just the conduit of the words onto the pages. And it's like I'm laughing because I no idea about all about this about you until we started talking. And it's like we're twin sons of different mothers, because you talk about writing and then wanting to help others potentially write. And indeed, my book, How to Write a Book and Get It Published, Hints, Tips, and Techniques to Do That. Then you went on to say, while you're doing podcasting, you also would like to help others compete against you in the podcasting world. Well, not so coincidentally, I'm going to let people in on behind the scenes. I'm looking at the calendar. We're actually recording today, Monday, May the 6th in the evening. Literally 5 days ago, I dropped Podcasting Quick Start Guide book. So we're both doing the same thing, creating our own replacements.
It's part of leadership, duplicating yourself. Find your replacement.
Oh, yeah, not necessarily smart, but it's a honorable thing to do. Yeah. Okay, well, at any rate, and I say that you don't know this, you've not heard all my shows, but I jokingly jab at myself now. You know how some people in a podcast, you've got to avoid the ahs and the ums and and the dead air stuff. But I'm good at avoiding the ahs and the ums, but over the last couple months, I've developed this verbal tick of saying, at any rate, to segue between my thoughts. So now it's an ongoing running jab at myself that I say, at any rate. I need to have a shirt printed up that says, at any rate. But indeed, I I'm still building. My show is still growing, of course. So I try not to go very long because, today's twatter attention span, I call it. Everybody wants everything in short sound bites and whatnot. We could no doubt do a 3-hour show and probably very few would listen. So I'd rather try to limit it to around 30 minutes so that it's bite-sized enough that people would listen. So wrapping up with the usual podcaster question, if people want to reach out to you, and of course those looking on the behind-the-scenes video, even though this is an audio show, can see it right above his head on the video. If people want to find you and reach out for the audio-only listeners, where would people find you and your books?
You the man, Joe. Appreciate you, sir. For those who want to keep in contact with me, head over to dombrightmon.com. That's dombrightmon.com. And I got a free gift for folks who want to subscribe to the wonderful newsletter. And it's a free little gift called the 21 Lessons Learned from Starting and Growing and Running a Podcast for over 5 years, indeed. So if you're looking to do just that, to add a little something to your game and add something on top of Joe's book, indeed, then check that out. It's a free ebook for those who subscribe, and you can get it all on dombrightmon.com.
That's great. And remind us again of your books, at which I take it Amazon and everywhere else, right? What are all the titles you have for them to look for?
At the moment, got 4 titles. First one's Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself. Also on audio, I read that one. And the follow-up book, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Also on audio as well. And Crappy to Happy, Sacred Stories of Transformational Joy. That's a multi-author book with myself and about 24 other authors, including the legendary James Redfield, the author of the Celestine Prophecy, who wrote the foreword for that book as well. And the one that I mentioned earlier, the 4th one to make the 4-pack ab pack happen, the Going North Advancement Compass, which is that interactive personal growth journal to help you advance into your next level, all on Amazon.com if you type in Dom Brightmon.
Thank you, Dom Brightmon, for joining the show today. It was a pleasure to have you here. Take care and God bless, brother.
Right back at you.
Thank you for having tuned in for ChristiTutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via terrorstrikes.info/shop. Be sure to check out more about today's discussion at thelibertybeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff. No fancy high production intro or inserts, at least yet, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help to grow the show.
It is a myth that terrorism stopped during COVID. Unfortunately, mainstream media opted to prioritize pandemic hysteria over promoting all news. Terrorism continues. Simply hoping that it doesn't affect you is not a strategy. The new book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, featured on The Author Show, is now available in paperback from bookstores, online, or as an ebook exclusively through Amazon Kindle. Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you by Joseph M. Leonard. Order today.